It's a pleasure to be here and address this morning this session on balancing velocity and quality. I want to begin by thanking QAI. Every year we get this opportunity to come here and talk to you about HP's point of view and also about the innovations that we bring to market with the various solutions that we have for application lifecycle management. Primarily testing solutions that you know about, the acquisition of Mercury, the brand Mercury, almost 15 years of leadership now. So in fact, I just heard a question that there are so many tools in the market. Guess what? When you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant for the leadership position, HP still occupies that leadership position continuously for many, many years now. I myself have been associated with this brand for over 13 years now. I started my career as a Mercury consultant. And it's over the years I've seen the landscape of testing transforming. I've worked as a practitioner, as a professional services consultant, and then today as a product manager. I'm happy to share about the latest and greatest that HP brings to the market, and also talk about how the best practices about application lifecycle management and testing in the new style of IT. So what is this new style of IT that we talk about? In fact, this is something that I talked about last year, and we heard it from various speakers, that the trend, big tectonic shifts that are happening in the industry today, primarily centered around agile delivery. Today, almost 40% of the organizations, as polled by Forrester, indicate that they are doing agile in one form or the other, or they have a project in agile. Cloud and composite applications is, again, a big focus area for application architectures. While people are moving more and more application components and services to the cloud, it is also important to understand that the whole advent of the service-oriented architectures has created this paradigm of assembling applications rather than just building it. And we've heard about collaboration a lot, and especially with respect to diverse teams, distributed teams, this whole aspect of cloud and composite applications and collaboration among teams, especially when they're delivering applications in the agile world, coupled with the whole big trend about mobility, which is what Gartner is saying, that by 2015, out of every 5 projects, 4 projects will be for delivering mobile applications. The kind of trends that intertwine with each other, they're not really independent. You might notice that all mobile applications today are pretty much delivered by agile methodologies, and more often than not, they are delivered through internet, through the cloud. So this session today, my focus is really to talk about how testing is relevant even in the world of agile. We are hearing so much about developers doing testing, what happens to testing as a profession. Well, guess what? You just heard in the morning session the World Quality Report that HP co-sponsors and we co-author with Capgemini, that the testing budgets are really increasing. I mean, from 13-14%, they're going to 20-23%. This is a clear validation that testing is not going anywhere. It is just that how do we adapt testing to the new world? And you can see that velocity is the new normal, which means, if you look at this chart here, by 2015, we are saying that every application would probably have almost 3 releases a month from almost 4 releases a year. And what analysts are predicting that by 2020, we're almost heading to a daily release paradigm. Almost, every other day we are going to have a release or some sort of change in the application which will be deployed into production. So this creates enormous pressures on application delivery organizations, and agile methodologies are what companies are adopting to fulfill this need for enterprises to remain competitive. After all, it is about the competitive pressures that are, that are responsible for bringing applications and services faster to market. And what started as really, the agile methodologies in small startups, nimble organizations, is now gradually moving to the enterprise. So this is where we are seeing that the benefits of agile are not just limited to the startups and to the, the niche software development houses, but it's also the large enterprises who have complex application environments, multiple teams, who are ready to benefit from, from agile methodologies. And excuse me. So the big benefits that enterprises are going to achieve from adopting agile methodology is really about improving the alignment between business and IT. This is really about collaboration. In fact, Abhay also talked about collaboration in some detail. When business and IT collaborate more closely, this is when the outcomes are going to get better, because now IT has a feedback mechanism from business which comes earlier rather than waiting a year while the application is built. It's also about reducing the cycle time and bringing application features, functionalities faster to market. So you are able to beat the competition, you're able to reduce the cost, you're able to stay competitive in the market, and end of the day, you're able to keep your business satisfied, the end user satisfied. And what you can see, a typical example of how application environments today are impacted by location-aware services, mobile applications, whether it's a new cloud-based application that is going to be integrated into this, or a back-end service which was traditionally on a mainframe, how it gets integrated into a front-end web-based application or mobile application. This keeps moving. This is a typical evolution of an application over its life cycle. And as we deliver these features and functionalities, we are more and more seeing agile methodologies getting adopted. So true agility really demands, and this is our fundamental philosophy, and you know that we came from a background of providing testing and quality management solutions in the market for ages. The balance of velocity and quality is really key, right? So it is not just a checkbox feature for us that, okay, we do agile and we do quality. It is the core fundamental principle of what we bring to market, and balancing agility and velocity is the key to delivering the better business outcomes that everybody is looking for. So for the rest of this presentation, I'm really going to talk about what are the key challenges that companies are facing today in the pursuit of velocity. And we can club them into four major areas here. One is the silos in the organization. When teams, they have their own distinct tools, which maybe don't collaborate with each other, teams that are geographically distributed, they have less formal means of communication and collaboration, which leads to ultimately poor efficiencies, which leads to gaps in understanding, which leads to one person assuming one version of the truth versus another. And typically that's what leads to blame games in the organization. We have seen this happen when developers are working on something and testers find a defect. There sometimes goes around a blame game and everybody is not in sync with what actually the business requirement was. The next area that I can, I'll focus on, and this is towards the end of the presentation, is the dependencies that are being caused today by cloud and composite architectures. So when applications are delivered, rather assembled from bits and pieces, from assembly of services that are on the back end, services that are provided by third parties, there are a whole lot, excuse me, sorry for the bad throat. There is a whole bunch of dependencies in the application environment which causes delays, and I'll focus on that. The manual effort is again a cause of poor velocity, which means, and this is an area which we have been addressing for ages today. Test automation, a good example of how we have been taking an area which was highly manual and converting it into an automated way of doing things so that things could be compressed in a short period of time, and we can bring these applications and services faster to market. And last but not the least is the information gaps. What do we mean by information gaps? It's the lack of common understanding. The whole supply chain of software delivery, we heard this morning about the supply chain, is about connecting the systems. And it could be diverse systems, it could be one integrated system, and we as vendors in the market approach a very holistic approach of having open systems that will integrate with the vast variety of tools in the environment, in the ecosystem, to give a connected view of things right from the user story to the building or the coding to the testing to final release. And that whole supply chain getting connected is one thing, but it's also important to understand what we can derive from that information. What is the analytics that we can do? So to address these four areas, we talk about collaboration to break the silos. We will talk about virtualization as a technology that can really help address the dependencies in the environments today that cause delays. Automation, and especially here I'll talk about shift left. We've been hearing shift left in the morning, since morning. So how automation is key to delivering agile projects, but also how you can shift left in the application delivery lifecycle, and what are some of the best practices that we have observed. And finally, the analytics and insight that we will talk about. So to begin with, I'll talk about the analytics and the collaboration piece first. And this is where it is important to start having a connected view. And we are today looking at various applications, business processes that span various systems of record, systems of engagements, through multi-channels, through cloud, through mobile devices, through tablets, through PCs. And at the back end, we have these various systems which hold the data, the information, and automate the business processes that the business is really looking at IT to deliver through the IT applications, through the business applications. And at the same time, the teams that are delivering these applications need to work through a common system of application lifecycle management for insight and coordination across the lifecycle. So what do we really mean by that? So first thing I want to introduce here is an agile project management system. This is a new offering from HP. Many of you may not have heard about this. This is really targeted to the development world, actually, and which is where HP is actually, it's a new business area that HP has gotten into, and there are good reasons for that. It's about helping reach out to people who are building building applications in the agile methodologies. But when you want to scale these agile methodologies in the enterprise, you're not satisfied with a point tool, you're not satisfied with Excel sheets to manage your user stories and requirements and defects, but you really need a tool that can bring together all the team members, the scrum masters, the project managers, the product owners, to have the visibility and collaboration across the life cycle. In fact, I met a customer in Delhi just last week, and the first pain point that the customer told me was that today I want to understand what each developer is working on, what is the status of each and every requirement that has been laid out to be accomplished in that particular sprint. So to able to manage work in a very granular way, we need an enterprise-grade tool that can not just provide the visibility and collaboration, but also the velocity and the quality can be balanced. So when we talk about quality, as I said in the beginning, it's not just a checkbox, but it is a core fundamental feature that we bring to the market. And I'll talk about that in more detail. I just want to share some screenshots, very interesting, the UI itself. You will notice that this is a great Web 2.0 UI, works in any browser, and it's a really state-of-the-art UI. In fact, we have got the most feedback and recommendations from customers and testimonials about how easy it is to work in this fantastic product, and this is what today developers are looking for. And you can see that how you can manage your sprints and the teams. And on the right side, you can see all the, the statistics that keep bubbling up with respect to the progress of the sprint, how many user stories have been accomplished, how many defects have been fixed, how many user stories are currently in progress, and with respect to each story, what are the tasks? Is it a coding task? Is it a testing task? Is it a design task? And what state the task is in, who's doing it, what is the time frame? And all that is today important to manage this work at a very granular level. So it's a digital task board, if you may say, for managing the entire project work in the Agile project. Now here I'm showing you another screenshot, this is the last one, about how you can derive analytics with respect to what the work is going on. So you can see that the code changes and the builds, which are managed in source code management systems and the build management systems, how important it is to tie them together and bring about that 360-degree visibility so that the right insight can be drawn. Are my developers working on high priority user stories, which have been prioritized for that sprint in the backlog? Is the build good enough to go for system testing, right? I'm doing a nightly build. These are the user stories, and these are the defects that were fixed in this build. Is it ready to go into production? Is the unit testing enough? And is it at a stage? So all these metrics are not something that you need to collate, but automatically bubble up, okay? So by now you're wondering, why is Manish talking about an agile project management tool for developers in a testing conference? So, this is where I go back to our core product for application lifecycle management and test management, which I'll talk about how it integrates with Agile Manager. But just to recap, I'm assuming a lot of you are already familiar with Quality Center. It has, we have almost 10,000 customers across the globe. It's one of the most widely used test management platform. How it helps you manage the quality across the life cycle. It has helped people shift left even earlier by tying testing to requirements. In fact, the latest avatar of Quality Center, which is application lifecycle management, especially when it caters to the waterfall world, it has even traceability to the code and the build, the same level of analytics that I talked about in Agile Manager. But it's also the place to manage all your test planning and execution activity. This is from where you would run your manual testing, automated testing, whether it's through Sprint or through unified functional testing or QTP. This is also a collaboration platform, and it helps you provide the visibility into the progress metrics. Where am I in the project, right? But now to how it becomes relevant in the Agile world. This is where, I want to highlight, this is a very important capability. When we talk about Agile Manager and Application Lifecycle Management or Quality Center together, it is about having a real-time synchronization between the user stories and the requirements. It is about having real-time synchronization between the issues that the developers are working on and the defects that the testers are creating. So it's a bidirectional sync. So essentially, it keeps a single version of truth for the development team and the testing team who are working in the Agile world. Now, I also want to mention that while you want to work in Agile Manager for development and manage the granularity of the work, it becomes equally important in this complex setup to have good test management. So test management, earlier in the past, people have just used test automation tools and may not have bothered about test management. But I want to re-emphasize that how with quality becoming a central pillar, and people are spending more and more on quality, good test management is key to having good agility and good balance between agility and velocity. So as I said, this is native integration, it's bidirectional sync, and it builds that entire traceability. And what's also important, last but not the least, is the test data and metrics that you are going to capture in quality management is automatically reflected against the user story in Agile Manager. So if a tester ran a few test cases and found out that a particular requirement is failing, that information is not just contained in Quality Center, but automatically the user story gets updated in Agile Manager so that developer also knows that my user story is failing certain test cases. So this is the key link between development and testing. And you can see why for HP it is important, how important we are going after this Agile project management space, because more and more organizations are going to have this kind of setup to attain true agility and balance between agility, velocity and quality. So I talked about the collaboration aspect, the analytics and insight. Quickly, I want to talk about automation. We have seen the World Quality Report. I just want to put up again a slide from the World Quality Report. And you can see that one of the key things that people have commented or given feedback in this report is a lack of good methodology, and also the ability to apply automation properly, as well as identifying the right test tools. So what I'm going to talk about is the best practices that we have seen observed with some of our customers, large enterprise customers who are adopting Agile. And what they are seeing is that, and this is a typical picture in Agile, you can see as the sprints progress, you build more and more components. The C stands for the component, the G you can see stands for the GUI component. So the GUI may not have been built till later in the sprint, but you still have a need to test earlier in the life cycle. What's also important to notice is that the blue legend stands for stable components. So a business process may not be ready and stable till sprint 5, which you see as B1 at the bottom, but the components and the GUI components may have been built early in the life cycle. So shifting left is really about identifying what areas you can automate earlier in the life cycle. So unified functional testing, as I introduced last year, we brought a unified solution to market for both the API and component level testing, as well as the GUI automation, which was the QTP or Quick Test Professional, combined into one single tool, and that is the only tool in the market. And you can see that the continuous testing is what is really, we are talking about here. It's a nomenclature that is taking root. We are talking about continuous delivery, and in that context of continuous delivery, continuous testing is becoming the key to delivering test automation and also the right level of quality baked into Agile. And again, to summarize the benefits, some of the benefits of continuous testing and shifting left is really about, one, reducing the cost of testing, where you can automate the repetitive steps. I'm also going to talk about how important it is to regression test from one sprint to another in the subsequent slide. But also it's important to speed up application delivery by integrating test automation with the continuous integration systems themselves. So the ability today to run unified functional tests through continuous integration system like Hudson and Jenkins is a key innovation that we have brought to market in the last 1 year. And it is really helping teams to make test automation and run certain build verification tests or smoke tests as part of the continuous builds themselves. And finally, the reducing the risk of the quality, which is imperative to bring about good quality management and adopting good quality, is the key to balancing the velocity and quality. So here are the couple of things that I want to talk about, and then I will switch over to exactly what tools do each of these functions. But you can see that in every sprint we are talking about, today in Agile people are talking about exploratory testing, ET. Exploratory testing is about testers' intuition and exploration of the application itself, and the lack of formal business processes and test cases already authored. But having exploratory testing and then having tools to do exploratory testing is one thing. Continuous integration, I just talked about that. It is today important that the continuous integration that happens as and when the code is built, the test automation also becomes part of it. Also the regression, so what you have built in sprint 1, you should be able to regression test in sprint 2. So the automation should not lag by more than 1 sprint. And finally, we also have this concept of longevity testing, which centers of excellence or COE or centralized testing teams will continue to have for the overall risk mitigation of the project for a longer duration of time. So to address those 4 areas, I have one slide with respect to the tools. We have HP Sprinter for exploratory testing. It has been in the market since ALM version 11. It comes free with Quality Center, by the way. It's something that we offer to our customers of Quality Center as a free offering. It really helps to improve exploratory testing by automatically documenting test cases. It essentially improves the collaboration between the developer and the tester by giving good information back to the developer about the defect. It is about communicating more and more information back to the development team as to where the defects are. And it's also about documenting the process. You might have traversed 15 screens to arrive at a defect, but how do you really reproduce it? So we have utilities to capture video, to capture steps, and all that is baked into Sprinter. Talking about continuous integration. Now this is, again, as I said, is key to the Agile methodologies, and typically they're following nightly builds, and then there is a continuous process of creating software, deliver software which is ready to be tested, ready to be shipped, and the integration of unified functional testing for functional testing and load runner for performance testing integrated into the CI systems is a great capability that today we talk about, so that the test automation itself can become part of the continuous integration process. Okay? So there are plugins today available for Jenkins and Hudson, free plugins that come with load runner as well as UFT that you can use to carry on this testing. Regression testing with unified functional testing, with frameworks like business process testing, you can carry on. And finally, test management to manage that entire testing activity, to manage the entire collaboration between the teams, to manage the traceability between all the assets from development all the way to testing is fundamental for the longevity testing, but also to manage the complexity of all the types of testing that we do in delivering Agile projects. A quick slide on load testing and how we are today bringing continuous integration. In the interest of time, I'll just mention that it is not just integration with CI systems, but also the capability to run unit testing scripts, which you might have built in your IDEs. Today we can just use those scripts, so developers can use load runner to stress test parts of the application which may not have been, the GUI may not have been built, but you can go ahead and run this testing. And finally, I want to touch upon virtualization. Today, this is a typical sprint scenario that we talked about. And there are certain business processes which are not ready till later in the sprint. And when we talk about shift left, we really are losing a lot of time in the earlier sprints where we are not able to test business processes for which our components may be ready, but there are certain dependencies on components that either are not built or certain components which are provided by third parties that we don't have access to today. So what you see as the blue triangles here are really the virtualized services. These are services that we are able to virtualize through tools like service virtualization so that they are available early in the life cycle, which makes the business processes available early in the life cycle to be tested. So essentially you can see how that shift left happened literally. And service virtualization is the tool that we have brought to market. It's been in the market for over a year now. So actually 2 years now. Which is, today we are doing great with respect to new customer adoption. This is all about virtualizing services and having, cut down those barriers to velocity, having environments available to teams earlier in the life cycle so that the quality of applications can be improved. We are able to facilitate building of test environments earlier and reduce the cost of development and testing and make that shift to the left. So here's an example. You can see how composite application, which might be dependent on external data services and external legacy systems or even external cloud providers, and how by virtualizing these services we are able to accelerate the delivery of applications. So really in summary, I want to mention that it is about having a unified approach to agile delivery, not just focusing on releasing features faster to market, but also taking the holistic approach of balancing velocity and quality while aligning with the various delivery models, adapting to the various technology paradigms, architectures, and also using automation and virtualization where possible to deliver accelerated application of high quality. So with that, I like to stop here and take a few questions if time permits. I kind of time up. Thank you.
Thank you. We just have barely enough time for a couple of quick questions to Manish.
Yeah.
I have a question on flex adding for UFT. Till now, we don't have 100% support for flex applications. We need to contact for Adobe. But even in Adobe, we won't get 100% solution for any flex applications. So when we can expect a 100% support from HP for flex applications?
So we have version 11.53 now released. There is a lot of, I don't know if you're talking about the latest version or not, but again, very specific, technology specific question. We have a booth set up outside, we have technical consultants, and we can address exactly which version is supported or not. But the fact of the matter today stands that we are providing support for Flex, and I have my technical consultants here who will be able to help you with that. Yeah.
A gentleman to the back in the middle of the hall, Shankar. Yeah, out there. Anybody there with a microphone? Difficult to access unless you're a good cricketer. We can throw the mic at you.
Hi Manish, I'm Manish from DeepMind Technologies. Same question, would you be able to share us with the roadmap for UFT where it supports the mobile and tablet devices without using any third-party services like Perfecto Mobile? Because I think in last month only I had interaction with the HP and I think they are free to support.
Yeah, so you don't have to go to Perfecto anymore. We are OEMing that solution, so you can still buy. So there is a plugin for UFT. It's called UFT Mobile, which HP sells directly in the market.
Tried with this, it's not working out.
Okay, so again, you can come to the booth. We can have a demo.
The question is, will you be able to share us the product roadmap for UFT? What is the roadmap for 1 year where
Wow.
you are getting us?
Okay, this is not the forum to share product roadmaps, but we are,
Manish, you are a sales and marketing guy as well.
right. So we
that's
can
customer.
we can have a one-to-one discussion, but yeah, definitely not on a open platform. We have a great roadmap, by the way. As I said, very beginning of the presentation, I highlighted the fact that we are very cognizant of the fact that testing budgets are going up, and we are very committed to our core business of testing. while I talked about a lot of solutions that span outside of testing.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I
test-
please
yeah.
request you to kindly be seated? It's really interrupting the proceedings of the House. Ladies and gentlemen, just let's maintain some, courtesy to the speaker. We have few more formalities before we break in, so please kindly be seated. Sorry for the interruption, Manish.
Yeah, no problem. So as I said, the commitment on our side is really, we are aware of the fact that we have probably the largest set of customers in the world for these test automation tools. And we have to continue to support all the new technologies that every customer is very eager to adopt. One thing I can mention is that the development of UFT itself has moved to a very agile development team. Our R&D team, which was not agile in the past, has been agile for last couple of years now. So you can see service packs are almost getting released almost every 3 months. And if you have a history with the product, we used to have releases once a year, once in maybe 1.5 years. So that's thing of the past. We are seeing new browser versions coming up almost every other month. So we are taking cognizance of all these facts and addressing it in a very, very disciplined manner.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you.